this is a big one, y'all. We finally have the news where Congress is taking Biden and Harris before the Judiciary Committee to answer for why they have spent hundreds of billions of dollars on illegal immigrants. They've been subpoenaed to testify before the committee on why they left the border wide open, why Americans are suffering, especially those in need from the hurricane disasters, and why they chose and elected to give hundreds of billions of dollars to literally migrate illegals into the country via private planes and through the CBP One app, while we have Americans that are suffering. They finally are being exposed for not putting Americans first. We also have it where there's new news on the Secret Service that they've been exposed as well, where they chose to give preferential treatment to Biden and Harris and Biden's family and literally pulled almost all resources from Trump's Secret Service team to the point where they had to rely almost 80% of the time on local officials rather than the Secret Service team. They created the issues, and now they're also going to be standing before Congress to answer to the American people. We have a lot of angry Democrats, and this is funny, guys, that are mad that Beyonce showed up at Kamala Harris's rally, but she didn't sing any songs. They didn't get a free concert. And there is videos that are blowing up and going viral on X where you even have this ridiculous, disgusting woman yelling at this like 6-year-old over something going on at the Harris rally of why they didn't get a free concert. But the good thing is that new polling reveals that Trump's pathway to 270 electoral votes is becoming clearer and clearer as we inch towards November 5th. We got a ton of breaking news for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. We got a lot of breaking news and want to say thank you to all of our members of the channel, those in the chat already. Thank you for your support, and thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation. We are here to serve you, and we are going to be serving people and making a positive difference in this community, and I'm so excited for that. Remember, we're going to be doing a big Thanksgiving giveaway, and I'm just so thankful for each and every one of y'all. But let's jump right into this, guys, because I'm so happy that Biden and Harris are finally going to be standing before Congress to answer for their dumb policies. Check it out.
House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan subpoenaed the Biden-Harris White House to hand over documents on how much federal taxpayers are spending to house illegal immigrants. We are an open arms nation. We are for legal immigration. This is though an issue and how it's exploded under Biden and Harris. Let's bring in from House Oversight, Congressman Pat Fallon. Congressman, it's great to see you again. A pleasure to have you on. What do we know about this? What is happening here?
Well, Liz, their taxpayers are, footing the bill for tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in, housing illegals. And it's been going on for 4 years. In fact, the figure could be into the billions. We just don't know. And I'm glad that Chairman Jordan has subpoenaed this information.
Okay, so there's a big infrastructure under the radar of nonprofits working with the government. So that's the issue, too. It involves the State Department, HUD, and DHS and HSS. This is a secret kind of under the radar thing that's now coming to the forefront. About 14 million crossings of migrants this year. Congressman, that's a record. New CBP data shows 14 million, the most in U.S. history. Small towns across America hit with a new influx of migrants. Again, Americans are generous. They're open-armed, but it's like Laughlin and Springfield, Ohio, Whitewater, Wisconsin, Logansport, Indiana, Aurora, Colorado.
And this is how bad it's getting, guys. I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is the thing. There's another town where they had 4,500 residents. Think about it, 4,500 residents. But yet there was 20,000 illegals that were dropped in this town, and it is literally crumbling. I have the details in just a moment.
The issue is they weren't told, and the community's resources are strained beyond the breaking point. Now, a lot of people go there, out of social media. What do you make of this? I mean, you look in Canada. Canada's Justin Trudeau. He's about to get kicked out. He weakened his Canada's borders, and he just announced a 2-year plan to cut immigration into Canada by 31%.
Well, I think that we're going to see Kamala Harris being fired because of this issue. It's the number one issue in Texas. I mean, Liz, just in Texas alone, over the last 12 years, there have been 299,000 299,000 arrests of illegals, charged with 513,000 crimes, resulting in 187,000 convictions, and that's just in Texas. In our small border communities.
Over what time frame?
Particularly,
Wow.
This is about the last 12 years.
Okay.
And that's a remarkable figure. If you extrapolate that over the other 49 states, I mean, God Almighty, look what we're looking at here. And the Hispanic Americans along the border are at the forefront of this, and that's why they're leaving the Democratic Party in droves for the Republicans.
It's quite a trend. Wow, what's happening? Congressman Fallon.
Wow, this is huge, guys. And again, too, the betting markets, remember, we keep you up to date with the betting markets. 63.7 to Kamala Harris's 36. This is where it's kind of just leveled off and it's just doing this. Right now, you can see this, but this is good. Again, too, all the states are still in favor of Trump beating Harris in the presidential election. This is big. The biggest thing, too, that has been brought up, so Trump just did a big, huge, almost 3-hour podcast with Joe Rogan, the Godfather podcast. But one of the things they talked about the Secret Service, they talked about the lack thereof, where there's more news coming out on that. And it's just crazy because Bongino 100% called it. And what's sad to see is that they're still pulling resources from him. Check it out.
Skin. I get beat up a lot. So when you guys say nice things, and ladies out there, I appreciate it. So if you found my show because of my coverage of the growing Secret Service scandal and leadership and protective methodology, I appreciate it. But I want you to know you're not wasting your time. A big report came out on how to fix the Secret Service. It was a congressional report, a lot of subject matter experts. But I want you to listen quickly, because I don't want you to think you're ever wasting your time, to my congressional testimony up about 2 months ago in Washington, D.C. Justin was there with me, where I said there were 3 things they needed to fix. I want you to listen to this, and I want to show you what the report said. If this would have listened to me earlier, they could have saved themselves the darn report. Check this out. First, they have a technology problem. The joke in the Secret Service, which is sadly no longer funny when I was there, and it wasn't funny then either, is they rely on yesterday's technology tomorrow. Second, another adage in the Secret Service, you've heard even the new acting director discuss, is the more with less approach. There is no more with less, there's less with less, okay? Third, and I'll wrap it up with this, turn it over to Mr. Prince. The investigative mission, the Secret Service, that they're telling you they need to make them better agents is total crap. That's garbage. Or 3 months ago. I had to ask. So Justin confirms this was 2 months ago. Folks, you could have saved yourself the report. I'm glad you did it. But it's just kind of strange. I worked there for a decade. So they put together this big fancy report. So remember what I just said 2 months ago. They have they can't keep up with the pace of technology. I wrote it all down in case I haven't. That they claim they're doing more with less. And they have this investigative function that's stealing away their manpower, should be doing protection. Oh, look, Wall Street Journal. How to fix the Secret Service by the editorial report. It's not the Wall Street Journal's fault. They're citing the report. The report makes broader criticisms of the Secret Service, including a pattern of undertrading and an attitude of doing more with less. They don't do more with less. Nope. They do less with more. Their budget has doubled. I showed you their budget on my show in real dollars. Their budget has nearly doubled since I got on the Secret Service. So more with that. Nailed it. Pattern of undertraining. Leave this up, please. 100% true. Folks, the Secret Service has 4 shifts on the president. 4? What do you work? Like 6-hour day? No. You have 3 8-hour days. Well, what the hell's the 4th shift doing? If there are 3 shifts, the morning, the evening, and the midnight shift, what's the 4th shift doing? They're training. What's the problem with 4th shift training? Nobody trains on 4th shift. They rarely do. What do? They take guys from 4th shift training, and there's the Secret Service budget. Thank you.
Wow.
Guys. Look, double. The 4th shift training guys wind up getting shipped out on advances. So they're never training for anything. An over-reliance on assigning personnel based on categories. I told you this. I said they're protecting people by title. They're not protecting people by threat. Oh, former presidents get less protection, like Trump. Why? Because that's the way we've always done it. What the kind of stupid answer is that?
I told you guys.
They lack auditing and continuous improvement mechanisms, i.e. the technology thing I said. They never leverage technology. They're always 10 years behind the technology. Here's another one. Second screenshot from here. The investigative mission. This report also argues the Secret Service should send responsibility for investigating financial crimes. Yes, folks, you've got agents out there that are supposed to be out there doing protection, keeping Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden, and all their other protectees alive, and they're investigating a $20 computer-printed counterfeit note dropped on booze at a freaking 7-Eleven, man. Come on, guy, get with the program. I could have saved you guys a lot of headaches. All this stuff is real, and none of it is going to change under the current management. My suggestion is they bring in an outsider, some former 2-star general or something from the military, some higher up at the Marine Corps, and they fix this thing up and clean it out. It's a total mess, and you're not going to fix it under this current leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, they are in real trouble. I'm telling you right now, this is going to happen again until they change management. I had a big conversation with Donald Trump about this. It's the first question I asked during our Trump interview. If you missed it, it's on this Rumble channel right.
I'm telling you, that's the concern right now. It's not, again, we still got, days before the election, but a lot of people are just worried, is Trump even going to make it there? And that's where a lot of people are just concerned because, again, 2 times that they elected not to give Trump the protection that he rightly deserved, and they're electing to go with somebody else. And then they're wondering, like, well, why do these things happen? Well, because you weren't protecting him. And right now, Trump is making the biggest, guys, I'm telling you this, listen to this right here. When he's talking about tariffs, and he's talking about putting these tariffs on other countries, what is that going to do? Well, it's going to put us in a better standing as America, but it's going to make a lot of other countries more upset. And this is where a lot of countries do not want him to be the president. But this is the truth when it comes to the tariffs. Check this out.
I am a loud person. John King with Michigan Advance. You were talking about the centerpiece of former President Trump's economic plan being tariffs. Could you maybe explain more in terms of tariffs are paid by the consumer? In fact, putting a tariff on anything is a tax on American consumers. So if you could explain that, if that's wrong, explain how a tariff is not paid by the consumer.
Here's why this is wrong. So first of all, let me give you a very precise example, and then 2, let me try to understand the theory behind it. Number 1, we actually already had a president who imposed tariffs on China, who brought back American manufacturing, and when that president, Donald J. Trump, was president, inflation was 1.5%. So we know that tariffs can protect American workers and also keep inflation low. That's the first thing. The second thing here is we have to ask ourselves, okay, let's say you're a factory and you're deciding whether to invest in the United States of America or to manufacture in China using literal slave labor. I mean, people making $3 a day. I don't want American workers making $3 a day. I want them to earn the kind of wage that can support a family, okay? So here's the thing. You make the stuff in China at $3 a day, and then you try to bring it into the United States and you undercut the wages of American workers. But if you impose a fat tariff on people who are trying to import that stuff, then American factories and American corporations invest in American workers. That creates good jobs, it creates good products, and it makes us more self-reliant. Because here...
Let's go.
We have to remember the same people that said that tariffs always lead to price increases are the same people who said that it would make our country richer if we let China and Mexico manufacture all of our stuff. Now, we all should have learned the hard way during the COVID pandemic. Remember, when hospitals couldn't get hospital gowns and surgical masks for their surgeons because all that crap was made in China. So Americans are paying more for health care. We don't have the medicine and the equipment that we need. We're poorer off, and we're also more reliant on our biggest adversary in the world. That is not a path to prosperity. That is a path ultimately to national slavery. Donald Trump's economic agenda is the path to prosperity and freedom for American people.
Let's go. Energy independence. Independence from relying on other nations. That's the big point. And right now, with all the polls right now, Trump is leading real clear politics against all the polls. But there's something else that literally happened in 2016, that happened in 2020, which is the secret Trump voters. This is a 2 to 3% that they doesn't reflect on all the polls that these people come out. They don't say they're voting for Trump, but they're still voting for Trump. Check this out. I love this. Oh, sorry, y'all.
Election season is stressful. It can bring out the worst in people. Republicans got a little angry after the last election, and now the left is getting angry before this one.
It's 2 weeks till the election. I'm getting a lot of texts and feeling a lot of people panicking, and then other people saying, no, don't panic. And I think those people are wrong. It is time to panic. Okay? I'm just going to call it like I see it. The polls are not good. Trump has the momentum. He's a nepo baby, incompetent mother who is mentally disintegrating in front of our eyes, and his voters don't seem to care. So it's going to be up to the rest of us, sane people, to save this country, save the economy.
Wow.
That was Billy Eichner, who calls himself a comedian. He has a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome, and he's a super spreader.
Trump is eliminating music from the Constitution. Yes.
It's people like Billy who make the rest of us not want to talk politics. Some people are afraid to even talk about current events because of people like Billy. No one wants to be screamed at or shamed for the way they vote. It drives some Republicans into the closet, especially here in cities. It's a phenomenon called the shy Trump voter.
Yep.
The psychotherapist who coined the term told Business Insider that being a Trump supporter can carry a social risk. Quote, for some, publicly supporting Trump could invite criticism or ostracism from friends, family, or colleagues who hold opposing views. These people fear judgment or social consequences, and this leads them to conceal their political beliefs. People may feel torn between their personal beliefs and the need to conform to social norms or expectations. This makes sense when you look at the polls. An overwhelming majority of the country thinks we're on the wrong track and say Trump's better on all the major issues. But the polls are tied. We're about to find out how many shy Trump voters are out there.
Let's go.
Psychotherapist and author of Be Fearless, Jonathan Alpert. So, Jonathan, you've been speaking to some clients over the course of several years during the Trump administration, the Biden administration. How have the Trump derangement population of people changed over this course of time?
Well, Jesse, I'm a real clinician, so I can't use that term, but it's a thing for sure. I think we need to go back to 2016. And after Trump won the election, I had people coming into my office. They were packing their bags. They were moving to Canada. They were withdrawing their investments. And frankly, they wanted Trump dead. And I would, gently nudge and say, maybe you need to rethink that. It may not be the healthiest thinking. And maybe the very reason you should stay in this country is because you can go out there and protest in front of Trump Tower. And they didn't like it. Some people fired me. They didn't like to be confronted. But fast forward to 2024, and we're seeing the same rhetoric. After the assassination attempt in July, there were people who were disappointed that the shooter missed.
Wow.
And again, after that in Florida. So this is a real problem. And if you're at the point where you actually want a political figure dead, you probably need to check in with someone like me.
Oh, my God. So they are bloodthirsty, and they have major problems, and it's scaring the heck out of the rest of the country, because now people are just afraid to talk politics. What does it mean when people are projecting like this?
Well, it is, Jesse, and we have people who are afraid to come out and proudly say they're voting for Trump. They're afraid of being ostracized. One person that I work with, she's 30-something. She takes a cooking class, and the people in her class, they get around and they complain about Trump, and they just assume that she also feels the same way and is a liberal, and she's not. She supports Trump. She's a moderate, and she's just afraid to speak her mind.
And there's a lot of people out there like that, I'm sure. Why does Donald Trump terrorize the emotions of so many people just by being himself? What is it?
You know, I think a lot of people have trouble accepting the fact that a brash businessman could defeat a highly seasoned, smart candidate back in 2016. They just were not okay with that. They never came to terms with it. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens in a week or so.
Do you expect rage and violence?
I do. I think there could very well be a liberal meltdown.
Liberal meltdown. We'll be here to cover it. Thank you so much.
And
election season is...
That's the worst part about it, guys. I mean, the good thing is if you're for Trump, there's a lot of good signs. The new Nate Silver poll just came out, and they're showing Trump is up 53.4% to Harris's 46.3% over Nate Silver. He has already come out and said that, look, I just feel it in my gut. Everything that I've seen, Trump's going to win. So this is a good thing for that. But the worst part about it is that people are, just like in 2016, they literally destroyed their own cities. Like, it doesn't make any sense. They're so angry, and they what do they say? Oh, well, you know what? These places, they've got insurance, so they'll be okay. It's not what it matters. There's businesses from Minnesota that were burned down during the BLM riots that just went out of business because they couldn't get approval or this or that. It's just insane how crazy they get. You don't see Republicans doing that, but a lot of times the left-wing progressives do. But this is more good news, guys. I'm telling you, there's a lot of momentum behind Trump right now. Check it out.
We're just 10 days out from the election. The race is tighter than ever, with Trump and Harris locked in a tie in a recent national poll.
That uncertainty spilling over into print media, the Washington Post declaring it's returning to its roots of not endorsing presidential candidates. A decision reportedly made by Post owner Jeff Bezos.
I thought democracy died in darkness. But the move follows other papers, including those from Harris and Walz's own home state. You got the LA Times and the Minneapolis Star-Tribune refusing to endorse.
Here with reaction, Republican political analyst and campaign strategist Ford O'Connell. Ford, thanks for being with us this morning. I think it'd be fair to say, I'll go ahead and include you in this, although, Ford, you can tell me if I'm wrong. None of us care about the endorsement of the New York Times, the Washington Post, or the Los Angeles Times. But people that I know do care would be Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. What does it mean that they're not getting the endorsement of some really big newspapers like the LA Times or the Washington Post?
It means that the race is slipping away and that Trump is firing on all cylinders, and he's outworking Kamala Harris at every turn on the campaign trail. And frankly, he's going up in all the polls. I mean, you just look at that latest New York Times Siena poll. It says that they're tied. Well, just 2 weeks ago, Harris was up by 3. And to put this in perspective, Will, back in 2016 against Hillary Clinton on this weekend, she was up 5 points nationally. So this is a big deal all around. Things are trending in Trump's direction.
You go ahead.
No, when you say trending in Trump's direction, what states are you looking at right now? We're gonna have this conversation a lot in the next 10 days, but where are trends the most dramatic in what states?
Well, let me put it this way, Pete. He's actually leading in the Real Clear Politics average in all 7 of the swing states. Where he appears strongest right now is in the Sun Belt, in the states of North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and actually right now in early voting, it appears he's actually leading in Nevada as well. Obviously, he's going to have to pick off one of the blue wall states, whether it's Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin. Right now, it appears that Harris is leading in the early vote in Pennsylvania, but let me tell you, it's going to be really, really close in all 3 of those states. But I do think the momentum's on Trump's side.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's interesting, like she starts going out and doing more interviews and her poll numbers start to slip as people start to see and hear more from her. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump who's saying, I don't need to do any more legacy media, although he's done, you know, Fox and Friends and a few other TV shows, but mostly he's going out onto these podcasts. For example, last night, making the decision to go for almost 3 hours on the Joe Rogan podcast. I want you to listen to this, and then I just want you to tell me what this particular podcast means to the race.
I got 3 nominations in a row. Won the first time, did much better the second time. You know, I get millions of votes more the second time, and now I'm doing it a third time. And it's an incredible thing. I never get a good story. I only get bad press.
That is
now, I
so
will say
true.
this. It's a lot easier if you're a Democrat. If I were a Democrat,
You get a lot of positive press.
I would get a lot of positive
Yeah,
press.
no, it's a creepy, corrupt business, and the media, to a large extent, acts as a propaganda arm for the Democratic Party.
It's not even believable.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's so interesting, John, because I think what it proves is he can't get good press from the legacy media. And now there's this whole new thing, which are podcasts, and he can go on for 3 hours and show who he really is. Is this going to impact the race?
I absolutely think it will, and I think it's a genius move. I think the only thing that was just as smart as going on the Joe Rogan podcast was serving up fries at McDonald's while Kamala Harris is dishing out lies. These are political goals. Now, for the viewers to understand, Joe Rogan's podcast goes to young men, particularly young men who are low propensity voters. These are the exact people who are going to vote for Donald Trump. Joe Rogan was initially for RFK Jr., who endorsed Donald Trump. He's getting outside the echo chamber, and he's going to where the voters are. Remember, Rogan's got 15 million people on Spotify and something like 17, 18 million on YouTube. This is gold, and podcasts, as of right now, will be the future in politics.
All right, Ford O'Connell, thanks for getting up with us this morning.
Guys, and I'm telling you this, everything that we're seeing across the board, it's Trump's winning. They're trying to stop him. They're trying to stop so many, guys, I got a screenshot. I don't want to show the video. There's a lot of choice language. But the Trump derangement syndrome is so bad. Look at this. Look at this. Look, you got this lady in the middle who's screaming at this toddler while this dad is trying to buckle her in. You got the lady behind her who's like, what the heck is going on? And it gets really intense. But this is how crazy these people are because they can't stand Trump. But this is the thing. They're so blinded. They only listen to one media source. They don't see the truth, and it literally bothers me. I'm telling you, if that was happening to my kid, you don't know what I'd do because I'd shield, strain, things like that because they can get crazy. Lawsuits, suing, things like that. But the good thing is that, again, more and more we're starting to see across the board. Even on CNN, they're allowing the common sense people to say something. Check this out.
Yeah, I disagree. I think the reason Trump is winning and will win ultimately on the issue of the economy is the comparative. I mean, look at the polling. His job approval retrospectively is far higher than the Biden-Harris job approval today. There's one reason for that, because people feel economic anxiety today that they did not feel under Donald Trump. They didn't feel the inflation under Trump. And they don't really believe that Biden and Harris either have a handle on it at best or they've made it worse. And I think it's a change election. And honestly, Trump's best argument on the economy is you can't leave the same people in charge. If you're feeling economic anxiety, you got to go back to what you know works. And honestly, he's more popular now than he's ever been. His administration is more popular than it's ever been. Look where he came from when he left office to right now. There's one reason why he's more popular today than he's ever been, because people are comparing it to what they've got now, and they're saying, I want to go back.
And yet it's a dead heat against somebody who's only been in the race 13 weeks.
Well, you act as though she just landed here on a spacecraft 13 weeks ago. She's been the vice president for an entire term.
But there's a
she was in the
difference
United States Senate. She did not show up here 13 weeks ago. She has a record as vice president, and I think what's hurting your campaign is that she also has a record when she ran for president. And she said a lot of things that have come back to haunt her.
That's a different world. I mean, I can go back 10 years when Donald Trump said he wanted to tax oil companies out of existence. You can talk about Section 230. You can talk about Bitcoin. You can talk about abortion. There's a long list of things that Donald Trump has flip-flopped on.
But he was the president, and he has a record, and she was the vice president.
Boom.
And she has a record.
Yeah, but what kind of record? But you know that whole comparison isn't legit because the vice president doesn't do anything. What did Mike Pence do?
Well, I disagree. I actually think she has been the most consequential vice president when you
Right
consider
here.
the responsibilities that she was given, when you consider that Joe Biden has said she was there every step of the way. And finally, she cast more tie-breaking votes than any other vice president. She cast
Well, that's because
the votes.
the Senate, because of the nature of the Senate, had nothing to do with her being special. You know, that's just...
I'm telling you guys, even Mark Cuban, he's a big-time billionaire, but hearing him trying to defend Kamala Harris is a joke because no matter what, we've got high inflation, crap is more expensive than it's ever been, and we've got these foreign wars that Israel just did this huge attack on Iran, and things are getting heated. We need a strong candidate in the White House. Check this out.
We talk politics. You're seeing missiles flying all over the Middle East now into Tehran. What is that going to do to this election?
Well, look, it illustrates just how the entire world has gotten more dangerous, the incredible weakness of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as commander-in-chief. You looked at when Donald Trump was president, we had peace and prosperity. In fact, we had peace flowering in the Middle East and the Abraham Accords being signed. Now we've had Israel at war for over a year. We had October 7th. And I got to say, this was funded by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They gave over $100 billion to Iran. And right now, what the president should say that Joe Biden has not said is America stands unequivocally with Israel, period, the end. That's what we should say. And you know what? When Donald Trump is reelected, that's what he's going to say.
All right, because this wasn't like this when Donald Trump was president. Iran was broke. You had the Abraham Accords. Oil prices were manageable. It's all just blown up to smithereens. We got to get it back under control. Texas seems to be the epicenter of the race right now. You got Trump down there with Rogan. You got Kamala with Beyonce. Why is Texas the hot spot tonight?
Well, you had both presidential candidates in Texas. I was with President Trump today in Texas. He gave a fantastic press conference focused on the human tragedy of the border invasion and illegal immigration, focused on the victims of illegal immigrants, people like Jocelyn Nungare, the beautiful 12-year-old girl raped and murdered by illegal aliens, released by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was in Texas at the same time, of course, didn't talk about illegal immigration at all. She was with my opponent, Colin Allred. And I got to say, Colin Allred is Kamala Harris. They are both open border radicals. And the reason Kamala Harris was there is because Chuck Schumer has been explicit. I am his #1 target in the country. They are flooding cash into this state, Jesse. Chuck Schumer just yesterday put another $5 million into this race. He's spending over $100 million trying to beat me. So I would encourage your viewers, please go to tedcruz.org, tedcruz.org. We have cash coming in from every direction. $5 million of brand new TV attack ads today from Chuck Schumer. We're going to win, but the last poll that came out in this race showed it as a 1-point race. So I need your help at tedcruz.org right now.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. Usually these Senate Democrat candidates don't want to be seen with Kamala. Up here in the Northeast, Pennsylvania, none of these guys, I don't know Kamala. Who's Kamala? Scheduling conflict. What does that say about Kamala Harris, that she's that unpopular that in competitive races in America, no one wants anything to do with her?
Well, she can't defend her record, and nobody else can as well. It's why you look back to when Kamala debated President Trump, and the first question asked of her was, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And she rather famously said, look, I was raised in the middle class, the ultimate non sequitur, so bad even SNL mocked her for it. She can't argue her record is a success. And by the way, Kamala Harris's record is the same as Colin Allred's. They're both open border radicals, high taxes, high inflation. And you know, going back to your opening question about Israel, both Kamala Harris and Colin Allred have undermined Israel repeatedly. Colin Allred voted against providing emergency weapons to Israel, and he has supported Kamala Harris's radical policy of giving $100 billion to Iran, while the Ayatollah chants death to America and death to Israel and funds Hamas and Hezbollah. Kamala Harris and Colin Allred have been funding that rabid Israel hate and rabid America hate. And we need a strong commander-in-chief again. When Donald Trump was president, I'll tell you, I was there when we opened our new embassy in Jerusalem. It was a moment, it was an extraordinary moment on the 70th anniversary of the creation of the modern state of Israel. And President Trump stood strong, and our enemies were afraid of us. The weakness we have today from the commander-in-chief has made the world more dangerous, and that's what makes the presidential race so important.
Yes.
And it's also what makes the Senate race so important, because the difference between my record and Colin Allred's record is night and day.
All right. They can never turn Texas blue. This country.
Yeah, it would be bad, y'all. If Texas went blue, they have so much electoral votes, like it would be insane. But think about it, there's a lot of people that moved from where? From California to Texas, to San Antonio, and it's getting a lot really, really blue there. But it's got to be red, guys. We need the too big to rig. We need the red wave right now. They are fighting. I'm telling you, like never before. The lawsuit that's going on in Virginia versus the literally Department of Justice on getting non-citizens off the dang voter rolls is insane. Here's the update. Check it out.
Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, joins me now. Governor Youngkin, good to see you. There were thousands of non-citizens that had been taken off of the voter rolls. The Department of Justice filed suit against the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now you have this controversial ruling in the waning days of this election. Your reaction, sir?
Yeah, to be clear, this federal judge.
And thank you so much to Michael Santino. Welcome to the True Life News family. And thank you so much to Judy Lynn Loving Spirit for the super chat. Y'all show them some love in the chat, everybody.
Ordered Virginia to put over 1,500 people who had self-identified as non-citizens back on the voter rolls. And Tom, I got to say that again, because it's almost beyond belief that people who had self-identified as non-citizens, who we then took off, we identified through our DMV process, gave them 2 weeks notice, and they failed to affirm that they were citizens, and therefore we took them off the voter rolls. This judge has ordered us to put them back on the voter rolls. And you almost can't believe it. I mean, it is really beyond anything that any person can possibly conceive of, that we have a judge ordering us to put non-citizens back on the voter rolls. And this is why we are expediting an appeal, and we are asking for an emergency stay out of the Fourth Circuit. And if we aren't satisfied there, we're going to the Supreme Court. Because as you said, my job as governor is to go to work to make sure that our elections are fair and accurate and represent the will of citizens who vote. And that's exactly what we've done.
This is going on, though, not just in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The Biden Justice Department is challenging reforms, some of the reforms that are very similar to the ones that you've managed to institute in Virginia and a whole bunch of these states. As an American citizen, how concerned are you about election integrity this year, particularly with the millions of illegals that have been given driver's licenses and been put into the welfare system over the last several years?
Well, I can't speak to other states. I know what we've been doing in Virginia, which is to make sure our elections are secure and can be trusted. And it is the exact fact that a previous administration in Virginia signed into law the ability for non-citizens to get temporary driver's licenses, that all of this was put in place in the first place. That if someone walks into one of our DMVs and they self-identify as a non-citizen and then either by accident or by purpose end up on the voter rolls, we have a very clear process for notifying them, giving them 14 days advanced warning that if you can't affirm that you're a citizen, you're coming off the voter roll. And of course, Tom, we also have the ultimate fail-safe in Virginia, where someone can same-day register in Virginia and then cast a provisional ballot, which will then be reviewed to make sure the person is a citizen. Right. But we have multiple fail-safes. This law has been in place for 18 years. And we all of a sudden have this Justice Department turn this into a real political moment. This is why Americans have lost faith in our Justice Department.
Governor, I want to move on to the campaign. You're going to be outside of Richmond with Lara Trump. You're getting ready to hold a rally there. Republicans, looking at the numbers, appear to have some momentum in this race right now. What are you hearing and seeing on the ground, particularly when it comes to early voting and enthusiasm?
Well, this is a big rally we're having this morning, and I'm thrilled that Lara Trump is able to join us in Chesterfield County. Of course, the gates open at 8 and the rally starts at 10 a.m. We'd invite everybody to come out because we have to get the vote out. And what we're seeing across Virginia and across the country is that Republicans are showing up to vote early. You know, we started this back in 2021, and that's why I think one of the reasons that contributed to my victory in 21 is we pushed early voting. Those are the rules. We didn't write them, but we're going to compete hard. And now we're seeing Republicans show up around the country and in Virginia showing that, yes, not only do we have huge enthusiasm, yes, we are united, and we are going to go ahead and cast that vote early and bank our vote.
That is the most important thing right now, guys. I'm telling you, the early voting is showing so much promise in Virginia, in Florida, and in Pennsylvania, in Nevada. Like, the Democrats have never seen Republicans come out in waves like they have been to do the early voting. But I'm telling you this, we have to be careful, because check this out. This is happening a lot, even in states like Florida. This is crazy. And thank you so much to Judy Lynn for the super chat. Awesome. And for the gifted membership. Thank you so much, Judy. We love you, appreciate you. And thank you so much, Jackie, for the super chat, first timer. Y'all show Jackie and Judy some love in the chat, everybody. But check this out. This is crazy.
Well. I went to vote. Did my civic duty. And give my ID. And the lady is like, did you submit a mail-in ballot? And I said, no. And she says, what's your address? Can you verify your address? Sure, here's my address. Matches my license. That matches my face because the picture on my license is me. And she says, well, you voted yesterday. I said, no,
I'm telling you guys.
Yesterday. I'm here voting right now. So what's the problem? I said, what's the problem? She says, she asked for the little supervisor, poll manager, whatever, to come over. And they make a call. You can't tell me who voted for me or where they voted. For security reasons. But I had to submit a provisional ballot that goes before a panel of 3 judges.
Y'all
and
hear
they
this
have
crap?
to approve my vote, the real one.
This is why the mail-in ballots are so wrong. This is why they can be manipulated. This is why they cannot be trusted. Because, again, to look at what she has to go before, do this provision with the 3 judges, get it submitted, go through that whole process, and nobody wants to do that. Just so that she can vote because somebody sent in a dang mail-in ballot. And then, guys, I heard something else. So you keep hearing, Harris and them are saying, oh, Donald Trump is going to get rid of Social Security. The dumbest thing I've ever heard when Trump literally came out and said, no tax on Social Security. But check this out. Let me know what you think of this.
Good afternoon, Senator. My name is Al Alexander. I'm from Harrisburg, North Carolina. I served in the United States Air Force for many years.
God bless you, Al. Thank you.
My question is about Social Security. And I heard many people around here, not here, but elsewhere, say that Republicans want to end Social Security. What I want to know is, what is the plan to protect Social Security?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Al, again, a very good, a very important question, and thank you for your service. And let me say this, that when Kamala Harris says that we're going to go after Social Security, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Donald Trump was president for 4 years. He already protected Social Security, and he's going to do it again. Now, here's what we're going to do, Al. The most important thing, the biggest unexpected strain on our Social Security reserves is that we have got billions and billions of dollars going to illegal aliens who have no right to be in this country. Social Security ought to go to the people who paid into Social Security, not the people who don't have the right to be here. That's number one.
Let's go.
And the second thing, Al, I mean, look, Social Security, if you get the illegal aliens off of Social Security, and you stop politicians from raiding the Social Security budget to pay for their ridiculous spending, we actually can very easily get Social Security on a sustainable pathway, but we've got to stop people like Kamala Harris from, one, trying to give it to illegal aliens, and two, raiding Social Security to pay for her radical ideas. We do those two things, we're going to protect Social Security. And Al, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to keep America's promises to our seniors.
Yes.
Donald J. Trump believes that as much as anybody in this country. He's already done it. He's going to do it again. Thank you, Al.
Man, that to me, as clear as can be. And again, too, everything he's saying is factual. Like we've showed y'all plenty of times on this website, on this channel, that what? They have 100% dipped into the Social Security. They've given Social Security benefits to illegal immigrants who've never paid into the system. Yet, whenever they look at all, whenever they cross over, they sign them up for the welfare, for the food stamps, they sign them up for Medicare, for Social Security, they give them a free internet, cell phone, all this stuff. And we've got Americans that literally paid into the system that are getting treated like crap. VA people that are on the VA that are literally waiting months and months, can't get an appointment. It is literally disgusting where we're at in terms of putting immigrants as priority over our own American citizens. But I got good news for you guys. Check this out.
Just 11 days away from Election Day, Tom.
All right, folks, let's take a look at those numbers. We start off with a look at the swing states in the latest data from the 538 averages. Former President Donald Trump leading Vice President Kamala Harris in 4 of the 7 battleground states. Trump ahead in Georgia right now, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Arizona. And take a look at Michigan and also Wisconsin. Less than a point, 2/10 of a percentage point difference between the two candidates in Wisconsin, 0.6 of a percentage point difference actually 4 or 6% in Michigan as well. Let's take a look at the national race and by New York Times and the Siena. It's a dead heat. Trump and Harris tied at 48 with now 10 days left to go. Now, I want to go back in time a little bit. Let's look at the electoral map and the projections in 2016 at this time. If you look at it right now in 2016, and this was one of the last projections of how the electoral map would shake out, 274 for Clinton at this point, 188 for Trump, and 76 swing states. Fast forward to 2020, this is from 270 to win, and NPR, again, one of their last projections at this point in the campaign, 279 for Biden, only 125 for Trump, and 134 swing states. Now let's look at the state of the race as it exists today, 211 Dem, and 234 GOP. So this is a much better position overall for the Republicans, certainly better than 2020 and certainly better than 2016. And if the election were held today and you look at those polling averages that we just showed you in those swing states, see what happens here. Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona and Pennsylvania, you go to 296. For Donald Trump. It's also very close in the state of Nevada. Keep an eye on Nevada, folks. It's usually not that close, and it's less than a point difference in the polling data right now. So again, it's a close race, but the Republican candidate seems to be in a much better position now to win, as opposed to the last 2 presidential elections that Donald Trump has run in.
Yeah, and that's such a great visual, Tom, that you're able to share with us and our viewers here, because you don't even have to win Michigan or Wisconsin if you're Team Trump. You've got to win, though, Pennsylvania.
You have to win Pennsylvania or Michigan. I mean, I think that's the way that it kind of works out. He doesn't have to run the table. He's got to win. He's got to win either Pennsylvania or Michigan. And look, he needs to hold the states that he needs to win. Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina are traditionally go for the Republican candidate. He lost 2 of those states in 2020. He needs to pick them back up again and then bring in Pennsylvania or Michigan. And right now, it's incredibly close in both of those states.
How do we set, because I think it's fair and it's necessary, expectations of election night? What we will know What we will not know, we've had obviously Pennsylvania, those from Pennsylvania, that state, and others, Arizona specifically, Maricopa County, come out and say this may take past election night to know who really wins. Yeah. There might be another red mirage that you see, and then counting again mail-in votes or those late early voters. Yeah. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, look, and I remember when I was a kid, we always seemed to know who won the election on election night. It's not until we've gone to all of these different systems now that we seem to have this issue. But we're going to be following all of those numbers, and we're going to be getting readouts here at Newsmax from the Secretaries of State in those states, how many ballots are outstanding. We've also had a lot of people early vote in person.
Big time.
Over 30 million people have already voted. Those those are going to come in quick. But it is a complicated question to answer, right, Sean, because we have so many different ways in which these votes are counted, and every state does it a little bit differently. Even counties, county by county, they can have some different rules. But that's one of the reasons why we're going to be doing all of this analysis right through Election Day and potentially beyond.
And this is the big one too, guys. This is something that's happening. This is huge. So right now, Donald Trump is actually, by the polls, winning the popular vote. He has never won the popular vote, never even gotten close to it. He's always just won the electoral, gotten close to winning the electoral vote in 2020, and then he won it in 2016. But this just shows there's such a majority of people across the United States that are fed up, that want to see new leadership. Just want to say thank you to everybody that is watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to all of our members. Remember, if you want to join, the link is in the description to join. And thank you so much to Michael Santino and Judy Lynn for gifting a True Life News. Welcome to the family. Thank you so much to Judy Lynn, Jackie for the super chats. Y'all are amazing. Y'all show them some love in the chat, guys. This is the thing. Today, I got to go take my my kids and my wife. We're going to go to a pumpkin patch. Going to go take pictures and do all that fun stuff. But I'm so glad we could serve you with the top news. We love you. We thank you. And we're always here for you. We will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.